Thank you, sir. I just want to speak on behalf of Mr. Cleaver's amendment. I think it's right-minded and for all the reasons that he has spoken. But I do want to go back to your point, Mr. Chairman, which was the definition of fully funded. And this document is a document of views and estimates. It is not precise legislation. It is more a guide. And I have always thought that whatever a general term like that, fully funded, might mean a number of things to a number of people on this committee. To me, fully funded means sufficient to meet the need, sufficient to address or begin to address the need that's out there.
Would the gentleman yield?
Very briefly, yeah.
The author of the amendment defines it as fully funding the President's request.
No, I understand that, and you elicited that, and I understand that. But let me just say that obviously you have a different view of that because you look at this and say, well, I do not want to fund, nor do I think any member wants to fund waste and any waste in any of these programs. So you don't want to fully fund waste, for instance. And so there are some who think that low-income tax credits or Hope 6 are the ways to fully fund public housing in this country. I just don't want us to get hung up on differences on how we view the need to fund this. The need is there, and I have a different perspective, or I come from a different place than Mr. Cleaver, but I did grow up in public housing in South Boston in the old colony housing projects with my mom and dad and 5 sisters, and we lived there for 15 years. So I'll have to go back and ask my mom what took so long. But she worked part-time, raising 6 kids, and my dad was an iron worker and worked in construction like I did for 20 years. And I have to say that I agree with Mr. Cleaver and others who have said what a wonderful blessing that was. We would have been homeless, I think, my family, but for the fact that public housing was there. And it provided, and this is the old colony housing project, the poorest, predominantly white census tract in the country. So it's a different place than rural Missouri or places that other people have spoken about. But the value of that stability of having that housing there, and I see what's happened in this country since then, and most recently where the government has abandoned the affordable housing programs. We've seen our housing stock dwindle. Even the housing projects that were built during the Second World War have not been refurbished. The people are still living in that substandard housing. I know we're doing our best to try to deal with some of this through Hope 6 and other programs like that. But we've got an aging population, and I know we've talked a bit about the veterans. We need to do the right thing by veterans for affordable housing. Our seniors, they're on fixed income. They can't go out there and work an additional job or work added hours. I worry greatly about our seniors, and the senior housing in my district. I've got lists and waiting lists that really present a huge problem because I've got this aging population, like a lot of people in this committee do. So I support the gentleman's amendment, and I support his idea of fully funding in a way that, as I said before, meets the need. I have one additional minute. I'm not sure if Mr. Green needed it, but Mr. Meeks, I'll yield my minute to Mr. Meeks.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch, because I just want to reflect on that also. You talk about time. I'm sitting up here thinking, my parents lived in public housing until I was out of law school because every dime, their salaries didn't go up. They couldn't afford more luxury homes or housing or anything of that nature. They were trying to also send their kids to school. I was going to college. They had to pay for some of that. My sisters were going to college. They were paying for some of that and trying to help and make sure that the next generation, like myself, would not have to. Now, my parents, ultimately, I felt went to law school and was able to get a decent paying job at the time, and I was able to help them move into a home. But for that, they could still be living in public housing. Yes. I yield to the
It's Mr. Lynch's time. Will the gentleman yield? I just want to get on the record with the rest of my colleagues. My family was from public housing in St. Louis, Missouri. The Pruitt-Igoe, the Vaughn, and Carr Square Village, everybody we knew was raised in public housing. So I just want to be on the record with you all. Thank you.
Time of the gentleman has expired. For what purpose?